Listen, you smell something?
Human emotions are materializing in the form of a viscous psychoreactive plasm with explosive supernormal potential.
What a discovery, a psychoreactive substance.
Do you know what this equipment is used for?
Boggle or Super Mario Brothers?
We'll have fun!
Yeah! They're still doing it. Really quite good work there.
My friend, don't be a jerk.
We've got no choice. Call the Ghostbusters.
Super Jackpot!
Welcome to Extraplasm Podcast. It's the only podcast on the internet that spent part of its week devising poorly laid plans to bribe American Express concierge staff to pretend it has a platinum card it doesn't actually have. And don't worry, we didn't commit any fraud here. We didn't enact any of those poorly laid plans. We just devised them poorly. I'm your host, Jim Maritato, aka Vink Maniac on the internet. And this week, I'm excited to be back talking with Matt Sanders of TCU Collectibles and the Ghostbusters Containment Unit Autograph Collecting Group. Matt rejoins us this week to catch up about his recent efforts to complete another round of signings with McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard at MegaCon in Florida, as well as to fill us in on some current and future autograph offerings that are coming soon from TCU. It was great to catch up with Matt this week and to talk with him about his experiences at MegaCon, some fun thoughts we have on Billy Bryan's new Stay Puft Puppet Head, the next generation of Ghostbusters fandom, our hopes for the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters and Frozen Empire, including whether or not we can try to get to a premiere without bribing American Express agents, and more. But we'll jump into that conversation in a few moments after Ghostbusters headlines. But before we can do that, I have one quick housekeeping item I want to address with you as we start this episode. Last week, I told you that Ghostbusters news had been knocked off of Facebook. And it's back, much like the Ghostbusters after the lifting of their judicial restrainement order. So welcome back to Ghostbusters News and Jason Fitzsimmons. But for the keen-eyed Facebook and Instagram users out there, you may notice that the GB News pages have been renamed to ghostbustersnews.com, all one word without spaces, in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, the evil meta algorithm will calm itself down and stop recognizing Ghostbusters News as being some sort of copyright infringement for using the word Ghostbusters. So if you happen to notice this change, don't worry, nobody's spoofing GB News. It's just back, and I think we're all glad it is. It's great to see Jason Fitzsimmons back at it with his reach restored, and I'll say this, it makes what we're about to do a lot easier when somebody who's really good at aggregating the news is doing it. So thank you to Jason for that. And now let's dig into some Ghostbusters headlines.
Still making headlines all across the country, the Ghostbusters are at it again.
Today, the entire eastern seaboard is alive with talk of incidents of paranormal activity.
Phone-in topic today, ghosts and ghost busting.
Extraplasm, read all about it. Ghostbusters headlines coming at ya.
In Ghostbusters Frozen Empire news, we finally know when the premiere is happening and where, at least in which city, if not exactly which theater. And somewhat unsurprisingly and appropriately, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire will premiere in New York City. American Express sent out invitations to qualified Platinum Card and Centurion members to experience the premiere along with a meet and greet opportunity for a $1,000 price tag and a very small and exclusive offering. This is something that you had to be a status level, adequate with Platinum Card or higher in order to access this. And you also had to have concierge service to get it done. Couldn't order tickets online. But if you were willing to pay that $1,000 price tag and you qualified as a high enough status member with American Express, then you could obtain access to the world premiere of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, a meet and greet with the filmmaker or talent from the film, a private brunch reception, a pre-event red carpet walk and photo opportunity, and access to a viewing area to watch premiere arrivals. It does appear that these have now sold out. If you try to go and access the page that was sent out to American Express cardholders to invite them, the URL kind of dead ends at this point and doesn't present any information. So for those of you who picked these up, who might be listening, congratulations. I'm eager to hear what your experience was like. If you want to check in with me after you do it, because it sounds like you're going to do something pretty cool and pretty unique. And for the rest of us, I just want to kind of be clear about this. This is a major film premiere. So while we now know that the movie's going to be happening, on March 14th in New York City as a result of this American Express invitation that went out, it's important to keep in mind that there's not necessarily going to be access for anybody and everybody who wants to go to this. It's something that is going to be limited to folks who worked on the movie and for folks who have been, invited graciously as guests to go, etc. So before you open your DMs to ask me where you can buy a ticket, know now that outside of this very limited offering from American Express for a very small number of attendees with a very expensive price tag, you probably can't buy a ticket to the premiere. But as always, my advice here is going to be to keep an eye out on the Ghostbusters social media accounts for any information on opportunities to attend a screening. If you were around for the premiere events for Ghostbusters Afterlife, there were a few opportunities to attend screenings, even if they were not at the premiere, that were still pretty cool and unique, and that were made available, sort of first come, first served to people who could access them in the places they happened. And so keep an eye on Ghostbusters social media for any opportunity that might come up to attend a screening or a premiere. And along those lines, 2 screenings that will be happening before the movie releases in theaters will be hosted on the weekend following the premiere. So the movie will premiere on the 14th in New York City, but then on the 15th and 16th in New Jersey, Ecto1NJ, our friends Nick and Greg over there at Ecto1NJ, who do a great job, are going to be partnering up with EHP Labs, the makers of the Ghostbusters nutritional and training supplements that came out over the last year. They're going to be hosting a screening of the movie that's going to happen, actually 2 of them. They're taking place in New Jersey, with one happening on Friday the 15th of March in Secaucus at 7 p.m. and the other happening in Cranford at 4 p.m. The following day on the 16th. So Friday and Saturday, if you're in New Jersey, there may be an opportunity for you to see the movie, even if you can't get into the premiere. So to find out more about how you might attend those early screenings, you've got to make sure you're following Ecto1_NJ on Instagram, where they'll be putting out information on how you might be able to win tickets to attend that screening. So, again, follow everybody you can on social media, because there may be different screenings like this. Different brand partners may be hosting them at some point, or we may find that there's going to be something hosted by Ghost Corps in a particular city, etc. So make sure you're keeping a good look on Ghostbusters social media, at an official level, but then also make sure you're following some of the partners who've been working with them. Ecto1NJ has clearly been out doing things with Wonderverse in the last few weeks and months. So they've been a partner of the franchise. Keep your eyes on who else has been out there doing things as partners, because they may be folks who end up with information or opportunities to attend a screening of some sort. So outside of information we now have about the premieres and early screenings, the other production-related story of the week for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is an interview that Gil Kenan participated in with SFX magazine that you can find on newsstands or access digitally by subscription. And while the entire article remains paywalled, Games Radar and in turn Ghostbusters News have valuable snippets that were shared to generate interest in the piece and in the issue, with Kenan addressing the role of the Ghostbusters in the new movie, meaning the OG Busters. And essentially what he told SFX is that we should expect more fully fleshed out and quote unquote actual characters from our Ghostbusters this time around. And I think the part of what he's suggesting there is that we really didn't get an understanding of where our Ghostbusters had been or what their relationships were outside of sort of very quick details in Afterlife. And in this case, he's saying that, quote unquote, we had a duty to make those legendary characters integral to this story. There comes a point in every story where the task of survival, of defeating the thing that you're up against, is going to require you to act. That's the moment that's really thrilling for me as a Ghostbusters fan. Watching their involvement in the story redefine itself, grow, and become more fully fleshed out in a way that speaks to the promise of the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, what was glimpsed in the fields outside of Somerville in Afterlife. There's a direct line from there into who they are now and how they act here in our new story. So if you were perhaps a little concerned about the lack of OG Ghostbuster coverage in Afterlife, or the missing backstory of some of those characters over the last 40 years, fear not. It seems like we're in good hands with Gil Kenan's direction and his mutual effort in writing a story that continues to develop the characters we love with Jason Reitman. So I'm actually really excited to hear him talk about this, because I have been concerned about how many characters will be in this movie and wanting to make sure that we don't have, I love Afterlife. As I say this, it's not judgmental like it's a bad movie. But there are these moments where you go, how did they get there? Did they fly there? Did they have another Ecto? How did they arrive in Somerville? And where you don't really understand, the depth of sort of trauma that went on between Egon and Ray, such that, a lot of folks went, Ray would never talk like this, but sure he would if he lost his business and his friend he felt betrayed him and stuff. So I'm kind of hopeful that we're going to see a little more of this, of sort of the undercurrent of how our Ghostbusters became who they are today. And it sounds like that's something that, Gil Kenan's directly addressing head on. So I'm eager to see it. So that kind of brings you up to date on the Frozen Empire production and premiere news. But now this means we just get to turn to the latest Ghostbusters Frozen Empire merch. And this week, the popcorn just keeps on flowing into the buckets. To recap from last week, I told you previously about the offerings at Cinemark locations, including a very cool figural Slimer bucket and a 130-ounce Slimer-themed tin bucket, along with 2 new plush dolls and a cup that have been out at Cinemark now for, I would probably say about 10 days, if not 2 weeks. I also told you that AMC and Regal are going to be offering a Ghost Trap popcorn bucket, and each of them will be different. So there's 2 completely different Ghost Trap popcorn buckets coming our way. But this week, the news is that there's even more merch on the way, though where some of it will end up is kind of unclear. Some of this stuff we know where it's going to turn up, and some of it we're going to see who actually carries it. First up, Harkins Theaters, which are predominantly located in Arizona with a few locations in California, Colorado, and Oklahoma, have announced that they will be offering a re-release of AMC's exclusive Ecto-1 popcorn bucket from Ghostbusters Afterlife, but now dressed in the all-new livery of the Ecto-1 scene in Frozen Empire. I hate to say this, but as much as this is the same mold for an Ecto-1 as we saw before, I need this. Because if you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know that our total lack of a 1/12 scale Ecto-1 toy that my Matty Collector figures will fit in or stand next to means I display them with a popcorn bucket from Afterlife. And the new one looks, well, new. It doesn't look like a beat up old car that is in its quote unquote shitbox state. So I'm kind of excited about this thing, even though I think it could be potentially one of the more difficult things to get and one of the more coveted options for Frozen Empire for collectors, given its likely really limited distribution if Harkins are the only folks who end up carrying it. Harkins exists in Arizona, but there are like 4 locations here in California, like 1 in Colorado and 1 in Oklahoma. So it's going to be interesting to see how that will play out, given that they also don't seem to have a website to sell it like AMC did. So we'll see what that's going to look like and where it will end up. And then there's promotional materials that Ghostbusters News uncovered this week with the help of contributing fans that revealed that there's even more plush dolls and popcorn buckets on the way. Although it's not entirely clear who's going to be offering them because the images came from a promotional concession guide for theater owners of a small theater chain that remains unknown. But what is clear is that somewhere out there, there's a popcorn bucket in the shape of the Ghostbusters Firehouse Hook and Ladder 8. I'm not kidding you. There's literally a Hook and Ladder 8 that you can fill with popcorn and eat out of, which is just like mind-blowing and amazing. Now, to be clear, this is not like a figural molded popcorn bucket in the shape of the Firehouse, like the Ecto-1 is, or like the Slimer one is from Cinemark, but rather this is a rectangular tin with a lid on which a Firehouse design has been printed. But boy, howdy, it's a nice looking Firehouse design. And this makes it no less cool. I need this damn thing to make my life complete because I now apparently have some sort of strange addiction to popcorn buckets. That means I need them all. Before I needed like an Ecto-1 one and I needed a mini puffed one during Afterlife and we were good to go. But by the time we're done with this movie, I'm going to have filled a room with these things. So if that wasn't enough, that we're going to have a dope, tin popcorn bucket in the shape of the Firehouse, we're also apparently getting to see the mini puffed popcorn bowl that was available for Afterlife at Cinemark make a comeback with new paint accents that actually color in the mouth of that mini puffed. That probably should have been done the first time around, frankly, because it looks a lot better with that accent done to it. And then there's new plush options that we didn't know about until now. It appears there's going to be a 9-inch tall mini puffed who's wearing cinema 3D glasses that will be in scale with the existing 9-inch tall mini puffs that are out there from Afterlife and the S'mores one that's currently out at Cinemark, as well as 2 things that are being referred to as shoulder pals, which seem smaller and they're designed to like clip on your shoulder like a pet. This reminds me of the awkwardly named Slimer shoulder sitter, say that 3 times fast, that Ruby's had available before they were kind of gobbled up by an acquisition by NECA's parent company. And so it's a very similar product, although these are plush and that thing was rubber. I'm afraid to try and say it again because I feel like if I do, I'll probably say something that I don't mean to, but I think you get the point. So there's some really cool options here that we don't know who's going to be offering them yet. The couple other things here are a 12-inch logo pillow that is likely the same pattern as the one they did for Afterlife, given that it's like the same exact thing, but without the rivets on it that the sort of Rust City inspired logo had. And we're not really sure where this is going to take place. Like, we just know that these are options that are out there. But what's clear is that because they're going out to several different independent theater chains rather than major ones, that these are maybe items that are not exclusives. They're going to be something that maybe different theaters can access and buy. So maybe they'll show up in different places, or maybe they'll show up on, Shop Cinemark or AMC Movie Merchandise or somewhere else. But the point is that these items are out there and they're pretty cool looking. As for more information on where they'll be offered, I'm going to keep you updated. But in the meantime, make sure you head over to Ghostbusters News to check out the offerings that Jason's found so far, because he's got really great pictures of this to show you. And one thing is for sure about, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, it's going to have more promotional merch available next to popcorn and Snickers bars in the theater than any other Ghostbusters movie in history. And at this rate, potentially as much as a WWE event. And I am not at all complaining. So bring it on. In more generally licensed merch news, Ghostbusters offerings continue to proliferate at HalloweenCostumes.com, with Ghostbusters News reporting this week on a Slimer-themed pumpkin decoration. This is a green molded jack-o'-lantern that's made of plastic that lights up and stands about 10 inches tall, and it's sculpted in the shape of Slimer's face. If you're struggling to understand what that means, imagine if you took Slimer and you removed his arms and you took the top of his head off and turned it into a stem of a pumpkin, and you removed his Slimer booty and you just made it into the bottom of a pumpkin. That's what's on offer for $19.99, and it lights up. You can see images of it over on HalloweenCostumes.com or by visiting Ghostbusters News, and it'll be available in June. It's definitely a unique take on Slimer. Not something that I think I was expecting to see. Obviously plastic jack-o'-lanterns that light up are not unheard of at the holiday season, but seeing Slimer turned into one is kind of funny. And I'm amused by this because he almost looks like a cartoon version of Slimer as an inspiration. So it kind of feels like something you could have seen in an episode of The Real Ghostbusters if he had just shape-shifted into a pumpkin at Halloween season and just sat on Peter's desk or something. So kind of cool. Again, $19.99, so not something that's going to break the bank, and kind of fun. That lights up, will be good decor for Halloween. And you can check it out over on HalloweenCostumes.com. And the other thing they've got coming out in August is if you've got some tiny humans in your life, there's a new Stay Puft costume that's coming out for little kids that's advertised as deluxe and featuring premium stuffing and stitch work. In essence, this is like a costume that looks like your child has been transformed into a plush Stay Puft doll, except their face. If you live in a cold place, I imagine this is probably the most awesome costume you could wear and would keep you really warm. And at between $54.99 and $59.99, depending upon size, it's not terribly priced for the style and the materials that are involved. Halloween costumes cost too much money as it is for kids, and many of them just rip apart because they're made of really low quality materials. And this looks way more like almost like a little mascot suit with a cutout face for little kids. It's kind of awesome. So that's going to be coming available in August. So you can take a look at that now over at HalloweenCostumes.com if you're interested. One merch news item that I overlooked last week is that there are a few new Ghostbusters items available at Hot Topic from self-proclaimed fashion for fangirls company, Her Universe. These offerings are available on the Her Universe website as well if for some reason you can't get them from Hot Topic, like maybe they don't ship where you live, but Her Universe does, etc. But on offer are a Stay Puft shaped plush backpack that functions like a purse, 2 different sets of earrings, one in the shape of Stay Puft and the other the Ghostbusters logo, and a Ghostbusters logo necklace. And you can find these items in store at a Hot Topic near you or on the Hot Topic website, with the backpack running $49.90. And the jewelry items are originally priced at $10.90 each, but since release, they've been available for 20% off on sale for $8.72 after discount. So if this is something that interests you, if you're looking to pick up some fun, costume jewelry that's got Ghostbusters themed, or if you just want a cute backpack you can wear to put your stuff in that looks like you've got a plush Stay Puft attached to you, head over to HotTopic.com or the Her Universe website and check these out today. In unlicensed and unofficial merch news, I want to remind you that Phantasm Toys pre-orders for their set of Crypt Creepers, or rather their latest set of Crypt Creepers, hopefully not their last, I don't think that's the case, that's going to be closing this weekend on Saturday, February 24th. If you've sort of forgotten what this is, these are their companion ghost minifigures that are in scale with the minifigures from the Kenner and Kenner Classics lines of Real Ghostbusters figures. If you want to see what these look like up close and in hand, you can of course go take a look at their website, but you should also know that I will be putting out a video likely the day after the podcast airs to let people take a look at what's on offer. That includes Parkageist, the haunted red jacket ghost who's inspired by our fanatical mania for Ghostbusters in crimson coats, Vinny and Zuli, the two mini ghost gargoyle terror puppy forms of our favorite terror dogs, and the third option here that's available is a ghost called Blinky. And if you are a fan of Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, you're going to know exactly who this ghost is because you might know him. Something looks kind of very extremely similarly to somebody you know as Winky. And I can't understate how much I am in love with Blinky as a person who has played an insane amount of Spirits Unleashed. When I say insane, I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, like, I have played over 1,000 hours of that game since it came out in October of like 2022, right? Is that when it came out? I forget. Which for some of you, you're going to go, dude, really? Find a life. But I have one. It's very rewarding. And I also like that game. But I digress. As a result of my love for that game, I also really think that this figure is so cool. In fact, it may be the ecto coolest. This is the first figure to be produced by anyone that is inspired by the original ghosts in that game. And I'm not exaggerating to you at all when I say that the details on this figure on both the ghost itself and the glow-in-the-dark Tobin spirit guide stand on which he sits are outstanding and looks like somebody rendered the video game straight into a figure. They didn't. This is rather the painstaking modeling and casting work that Brendan Pearce and Tony Taylor over at Phantasm put into things. If you're a Spirits Unleashed fan, you need to go look at this because it's something that you're going to want in your collection for sure. To be honest, like I don't think that Hasbro's ever going to do a line of Spirits Unleashed inspired figures, right? It's probably not a thing that's on their agenda. And this may be the only way you ever see something that's kind of from that game. And some of us really love the Rookie figure from Ghostbusters, the video game that came out from Matty Collector as the only thing from that game that came out. And to me, I look at Blinky and it's very, very much kind of the same kind of thing. So don't miss out on these figures because they're all excellent. The sculpts on them are like literally better than what the website images look like. And I'm not even kidding you. Like I had a conversation with Tony where I said to him in the message, dude, these look better than your website. And I almost felt like I was potentially sounding like an ass as I said it, but they do great work. The figures are outstanding. I'm hoping to show them to you on YouTube. So keep your eyes peeled on Extraplasm YouTube for some imminent kitchen counter review action. And lastly, in sort of unlicensed merchandise, you're going to hear Matt Sanders and I talk about this shortly, but Tom and Matt over at TCU Collectibles and the Containment Unit Autograph Collecting Group on Facebook are launching the first of a few new signings this week. Up for grabs now are autographs from Howie Weed, who worked on effects for Ghostbusters 2 and was also the performer who portrayed the possessed version of Ray Stantz after Vigo attempts to hijack his body near the end of Ghostbusters 2, as well as like the scene with the giant floating head, like he is the giant floating head. You can check this out now. Go over to the Ghostbusters Containment Unit Autograph Collecting Group or TCU Collectibles on Facebook to find this. Each autograph is $50. Printed 8x10 photos and ray gun cards are going to be $5 extra, and printed 12x18 projects are $10 extra. This is the big thing on this, is that the deadline to order is March 2nd. So you have like a very limited window to get this done, like a little over a week if you want to get Howie Weed stuff. And to be real, like there's not really probably another performer who you can attach or link to Vigo at this point, if that's something you want in your collection, given that the two performers that played Vigo, both in physical form and in voice, are no longer with us and have passed on to the great beyond. So this is something that if you're a Vigo fan or a Ghostbusters 2 fan, you want to be able to put something in your collection, don't wait. You should definitely contact them now at ghostbustersautographs@gmail.com to get that done. In addition, the guys over at TCU also have a really unique offering available. The Hank Mayo, who's a concept artist on Ghostbusters 2 and a ton of other stuff, has agreed to do 25 8.5 by 11 inch size sketches that are going to be different characters from Ghostbusters 2. He's doing 5 of Slimer, 5 of Tony Scolari, 5 of Nunzio Scolari, 5 of the Jogger Ghost, and 5 of the Terror Tub. These are hand-drawn original sketches by a concept artist who helped to create those characters. This is incredibly unique, incredibly rare, super cool. They're going to be first come, first served. The price tag on these is a little higher than you might expect for the average autograph because of what's involved. It is an original piece of artwork that's going to be created by a concept artist who worked on the film. So the price tag on this is $300, and you will end up getting them after they're picked up in June by the guys at the containment unit. So if there's something that you want to take a look at, you can go over to the containment unit group or to the TCU Collectibles site and take a look at the sample images they've posted of this. These are really amazing pieces that are really beautiful. And it's something that I really am contemplating whether or not I want to do this. Not because I don't want to do it, but because there's so many other things I need to spend money on right now in terms of like, potentially trying to go to some big event that I really want to go to. So I'm trying to sort of pocket money away. And at the same time, this has come up and I'm like, man, this is a really cool thing. So if you're out there and you love Ghostbusters too, like don't miss this. This is a really unique opportunity to take home a piece of concept art from the actual concept artist who worked on the film and who's got a real deep appreciation for the same characters you do. If you're interested in any of those things, contact Matt at ghostbustersautographs@gmail.com. And again, we'll talk about this. So you'll hear about it in a little bit when we talk about it in the episode, rather than the interview portion of this week's Extraplasm. The last item I want to direct you toward this week is to go check out the whoyougonnacall.org website, which you heard Ryan Espin and Bob Anderson talk with me about a few episodes ago. The site is now live, and you can check out all the progress that they've made in listing new Ghostbusters franchises, the new features they're putting into play. It's really coming together quickly, and it's really awesome to see their vision sort of coming into fruition and to see this new project come together, especially as we've watched like the number of Facebook pages that have been deleted and stuff. I really firmly believe this is going to be a super valuable resource for the community. So if you haven't already checked it out, go to whoyougonnacall.org and go take a look at what they're building. And if you've got a franchise, maybe submit the stuff you need to in order to get yourself listed there. And if you don't know there's a franchise in your area, maybe you'll find out by checking this website. Okay, so that about wraps up our headlines for this week. So let's turn now to my conversation with Matt Sanders as we get into, sort of his experience at MegaCon, some other stuff we want to talk about in terms of autographs of what's coming out soon, and our hopes and dreams and wishes for what's going to happen with Frozen Empire and 2024 and the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters. Joining me on Extraplasm Podcast and returning after an adventure to MegaCon to secure some awesome autographs for people in the community and now to announce what's going to happen next, Matt Sanders of TCU Collectibles, aka the Containment Unit group on Facebook for autograph collecting. Matt, how are you doing?
Jim, I'm doing fantastic. I am glad to be here with you. I'm recovered, I'm feeling better, and looking forward to a very exciting month or so. Yeah, about a month from now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Like, I think we're both in the mode of trying to figure out how and where and when we can access a premiere, if someone will let us come. And we're all in the crazy mode now.
I don't even know if they're going to let me within so many feet of the cast and crew. Like, I think Bill's got some kind of restraining order or something. I don't know. We'll see.
You're allowed, but they're like, you can come, but you have to leave all your Sharpies at home. No.
Fine. Blood will work. Blood will work.
Well, I'm excited you're here, and I'm hopeful that we're going to get to see each other real soon. If you get to New York and I get to New York, then we actually might get to hang out. And the last time we got to hang out was actually on this coast when we met up at the Frank and Son Collectible show and wandered around and bought toys, which was kind of fun, but yeah.
Good old times.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it. And I'm excited also about, the things you've got coming up in the hopper we're going to talk about in terms of signings. And we can sort of debrief on what went on with your MegaCon experience, which, as I understand, it was a pretty crazy experience for literally anyone I know who went, because it was so many things being signed at once by so many signers. So yeah, we have plenty of stuff we can talk about. But I do want to ask you this because you mentioned it before we started. You mentioned this idea that maybe you could have another Billy Bryan signing, and
we would love that.
And I would love that because you sort of joked about this. We've been talking about his puppet.
It's like a non-negotiable. If we work with Billy again, it's got to be an interview, but we don't want an interview with Billy Bryan. Tom so wisely suggested that we set aside Billy. We want an interview with Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah. Like, for folks who don't know what we're talking about, like, Billy Bryan is, you know, the person who made Stay Puft in terms of the suit. And he was the guy inside the suit in 1984 who's, you know, bounding down the street as the performer inside the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man suit. And so if you've ever, you know, seen Billy Bryan at a convention, he does things like he, you know, will sign like photos of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and he sells little like castings of Stay Puft's hands. So cool. Right. They're very cool,
such
right?
A fun
like
guy.
And he's really fun. He's a really awesome dude. He's also an artist who works in lots of different media and whatnot. He's worked on tons of different movies. Who did he do the Earthworm Halloween costume for? Remember that a couple of years ago?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but there was like some model or actress who he just was like, yeah, I'm going to make a giant worm costume for you. And you're going to go out to a Halloween party where you can't move your limbs. But he has this giant Stay Puft head puppet. And he's been on social media, like, just, hi, everybody, I'm Mr. Stay Puft, like, with this giant head. And it's made me wonder, and I want you to think about this for a second. Do you think that's the voice in Billy Bryan's head when he was performing Mr. Stay Puft? Like when he was like bounding down the street.
Here we go.
Right. Like when he was bounding down the street, was he in his head going, hey, everybody, I'm stepping on a church. Like,
watch out.
And then I love that, like, when he does it, he's like, will refer to himself as Billy while he's mouthing the puppet. So that's my second question is, in Billy Bryan's mind, is Stay Puft named Billy? Like, Stay Puft is his character name, but when he takes off the sailor neckerchief and he takes off the company hat, is he just a marshmallow man named Billy?
That's it. That's it.
This is just so we're clear.
Mascot
you can get him for an
day,
interview.
Billy by night.
Right. And you can get him for an interview and interview him in character as Billy Puft, which is now my new name for him. But I want the interview where I delve into this, where we have a conversation about whether or not this performance of Billy Puft that happens with this giant puppet is just kind of like the behind the scenes version of Stay Puft.
I love it. I love it.
Like, what's the Pillsbury Doughboy's name when he's not on the job, right? Like, does he go with that full name? Like, hi, I'm the Pillsbury Doughboy. Or is he like, yeah, how you doing? I'm Mike. I work as the Pillsbury Doughboy on on the set. It's really great.
I like that. I like the voice. I think they go together perfectly.
Yeah, he just does the hee thing when he needs to on cue. But otherwise, he's like, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, no, I got 3 kids I'm putting through school. One of them's named Muffin, one of them is named Breadstick, and one of them is named
Croissant.
Garlic Knot. He's the little one. Yeah, Croissant. Croissant is my French exchange student. Like, just, I don't know. This is a terrible bit, but like, I just think it would be kind of fun to delve into this question with Billy Bryan of where the character of that puppet comes from. And so I think that you probably have a closer shot at getting an answer to that question at some point, because of course you have the Containment Unit podcast where you have interviewed lots of folks who you've done signings with and stuff. And I hope you're going to be doing some more of that this year.
We are working on setting up many interviews for the 40th anniversary. So we want to kind of dust off the podcast, get a lot of cool and exciting people lined up, a lot of stories and stuff. One of them has to be Stay Puft Billy.
Yeah.
Or Billy Puft. That's got to happen.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna lobby him, just message him on Instagram and be like, dude, come on, change your handle to Billy Puft. Like, sell Billy Puft rock t-shirts. Like, I'd buy one. Come on, this would be great. So what if he did that? Like, what if he did a puppet version of the Mr. Stay Puft, but it was like the Coming Out of Our Shells tour from like the Ninja Turtles.
Gosh.
And Billy Puft was like the Billy Idol version.
All that. Oh yeah. That'd be so cool. The ripped denim. Come on.
Yeah. We need Stay Puft and ripped denim. This is, yes. This is when people say, I wonder what Universal's doing this year. I hear Ghostbusters is coming back. This is what it is, folks. It's the Billy Puft stage show.
Halloween Horror Nights. Here we go.
Well, leaving aside what might be happening in Florida at Universal. Tell me a bit about how your trip to MegaCon was. I mean, I was going to say to Florida, but you live in Florida. So
I
it's
do.
Not like...
So my trip to MegaCon's not very exciting, but no, it was in hindsight, I'm not surprised by it, but I think I heard that there was over 190,000 people throughout the weekend.
Wow.
And I think that puts it as like top 2, 3 highest attended conventions of all time. At least that's what I was hearing. So it was a ton of people. And the guest list, it was out of this world. I've been to several conventions. I follow them closely because of the autograph game. And this, the amount of A-list top celebrities at MegaCon was just insane. And so I was very excited to meet many people, and at the same time, already super, very nervous. Because I knew with guests like that means there's going to be a ton of people, which means long waits.
Right.
And a crazy time. So yeah, it was good. I mean, this may be sacrilege, so I apologize ahead of time if I offend anybody, but our mutual friend, J.D. Raymer, and I were talking about this too, and he agrees. So at least I have a little bit of company.
If JD says it, it's fact. That's the
then
deal.
It's got to be. But for me, Ghostbusters is like number 1, and then like maybe 1B. So 1A, 1B is Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Love Back to the Future. And I feel like my enjoyment and appreciation of Back to the Future has grown as I've gotten older for some reason. It ages so well.
Oh, it does.
So they had the cast, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, and Tom Wilson were there. And so I was excited to meet all those guys and see Michael J. Fox again. Like, I can't imagine how much longer the guy's going to be going to shows.
Right.
And so like it was a big weekend, not to mention we had some Ghostbusters guests there as well.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But that's a really good point that like the Back to the Future, the promotion that's happening of that movie is kind of funny to me because like there's not a sequel. I don't ever want there to be. Like, let me be very clear about this. As much as I ever wanted there to be a sequel to a Ghostbusters movie, I'm like, take Back to the Future, take those 3 movies, you put them in a box and you leave them alone. You want to make a musical? Fine, go do that. But you do not touch these 3 movies. You don't reopen the franchise up. You don't mess with it. It's good the way it is. But
I agree.
What you're saying is kind of true that like Michael J. Fox has been making a lot of appearances. Mm-hmm. Like in the last couple of years, he's shown up in places. He was at New York Comic Con, I think last year too. And there is a part of me that wonders like if this is sort of a big push before he stops doing those conventions, like getting it done while he can. He also has a book he's promoting, that he's out working with, but I think it's kind of interesting. He just had his documentary
release on Apple TV,
right,
which was amazing. So yeah, that's what impresses me. So removing the fact that I enjoy most of his movies, the fact that this guy has severe Parkinson's, but has the best attitude, stays active, and still gets stuff done. It's amazing to me. It's an inspiration to me. And so to see him again was great. The autograph experience for Michael J. Fox, it's, it take whatever you think it is and make it more of a conveyor belt. I mean, you walk in and he's got a lot of people helping, which he needs it, but it's quick. It's very quick. And so I'm just amazed that he's able to sit there for hours on end. He's got his music, he's got his rock and roll playing in the background, and he's just going to town signing stuff. But always good to see him.
It seems too like he has a good sort of support system around him, and that like the cast of the movie are very protective. They're very much like a family. You sort of see it, and it kind of is wonderful to me when you think about the fact that like he was the guy who came into a cast that had already been working. It would have been really easy to have like, wow, this is really uncomfortable. Somebody's coming in replacing somebody else, and he was kind of working between that and family ties and running between sets and things. And yet he has like this sort of long-term relationship with Christopher Lloyd and stuff that when you see them at conventions, it's like almost like he's helping to take care of him. And you're like, man, this is so strange. Cause like they really have developed this strong, like significant long-term bond that their characters like would have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, like Doc is so worried about Marty's future and whatnot in the movie. And then you see sort of like how they work to take care of Michael J. Fox and work together to get through Q&As and things. And you go, man, it's really wonderful. Like what they got to make, you know, not just a movie, they got to make a relationship out of it. That's really amazing.
Yep. And it used to be too that when they all get together like that, I don't know if this is true for MegaCon, but when I saw them in 2019, it was that a lot of the money that comes in from them doing these appearances as the cast goes towards the Fox Foundation. So
yeah,
that's really cool too. So
yeah, I mean, I think everybody there is pretty much, you know, pretty successful, you know, but yeah, except Biff. They took that you know, they took Tom Wilson's almanac away, and he got to 2015. He made a bunch of bad bets. And, no, I'm kidding. None of that is true. Anyone like out there listening, what? Tom Wilson has a gambling problem? No, like that's no. Biff does, but
apparently he didn't used to sign Back to the Future stuff. I think there was a season where he was so sick of being Biff, and being recognized as Biff, that he didn't sign and refused to sign Back to the Future stuff. So the fact that he's back out of recent and doing shows again, it's great.
Yeah, there was a point where you could sort of see him out here trying to make stand-up work and stuff, you know, like out in LA, and you're like, oh, he's doing appearances, and he was not necessarily like super receptive to talking about that at all points, you know, but yeah, I think it's great that they're doing it now. And I hope that, you know, obviously I want them to continue to thrive as long as possible, you know, doing what they're doing, but don't ever touch those movies. You leave those alone. They don't need improvement. They don't need to be reopened. You just make them what they are. Kids like 50 years from now will be like, what's a DeLorean? But
yeah, exactly.
That's a terrifying thought. What would they replace that with? Be like,
that's why, like, you talk about sequels. I could almost get behind a sequel before I could get behind a reboot. Because like, how do you, I guess the new DeLorean is about to come out in the next couple of years. So I don't know.
If they did it now, it would be a Tesla Cybertruck.
That is true. It would be.
It would be a stainless steel Tesla Cybertruck.
That's a good call.
And Einstein would be a cat. They would be like, nah, cats test way better with the internet crowd. Dogs are an 80s thing. You got to replace them, put a cat in there. So, well, let's chat a little bit about what went on with MegaCon and your signings with McKenna Grace and your attempted signing. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
With Finn Wolfhard, because I know you did everything you could to try and make that happen, and things kind of went a little bit differently than you expected.
Yeah. We'll start with McKenna because that was the one that worked. And can I tell you, she's a delight. She is absolutely amazing.
This is what I hear.
She is as excited about her role in Ghostbusters as we are excited about her role in Ghostbusters. She's funny. She's sweet. I was able to catch her panel and hear some of her stories. You can ask her questions that we would, like the hypothetical, if you could take any prop from the firehouse after you were done filming, which prop would you take? She had a great answer. I don't know if do you want to know? Is it like,
I want to.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it's kind of out there.
It's fine.
Yeah. She said the Slimer puppet. I'm like, come on, that great answer. You know, she's just a big fan of Slimer and all that. And we were talking about the infamous red jackets, parkas. She's just great. She was fantastic and loved signing things for her fans, took interest in things. Insisted on, Tom had mentioned this, I think last time you spoke to him after the first signing with McKenna a couple months ago, but she insisted on signing Phoebe Spangler just because she is proud to carry that name. And oftentimes you didn't ask for it. She still gave it to you. But she was great. So the issue is when you go to conventions though. So if anybody has ever been, you might be able to relate. And I want you to think of like a packed convention where you have thousands of people walking all directions all around you.
Yep. Elbow to elbow. And nobody's, it's always like just a sea of thriving, writhing people who are like, see something in a distance at a booth and they're like, I want to go look at that. And they just kind of go like a line.
Yeah. And they're not thinking about anything. They're just walking without looking where they're going. They're running into children and strollers and people in wheelchairs. Like it's just mass chaos. So typically, how sometimes these signings work, here's a little inside baseball. If you're able to get a hold of the celebrity's representation, you can set up a time to meet with the celebrity if you have enough items to sign in the back room or somewhere else like that. So that's what we were expecting.
And that's how your last one was, right? When
Correct.
Tom went, because we've talked about this on the podcast when he was on, that like he essentially was hanging out with McKenna's dog Gizmo while she went to go do a panel in the back room, right? So yeah, not exactly the experience that you had, right?
No. So instead we got thrown a last minute curveball where it wasn't an option, and it was decided that we were going to do the signing at her table. So again, you're talking about a table that's maybe just a couple feet wide,
right,
and cramped with people walking all over. And the stress is when you get posters signed, and we got a lot of people who wanted Frozen Empire stuff signed in red paint. It needs space to dry, and so we're having to put it out on the floor at the same time, getting stuff signed and make sure it's signed correctly without people trampling all over stuff. And so it was absolute chaos from that standpoint. But the actually working with McKenna, she was delightful.
Yeah, everything I hear about interacting with her is that she's been absolutely thrilled and excited about what she's doing and is totally stoked to engage the fandom. I think the way Tom put it when he was on was that he feels that she may be a bigger Ghostbusters fan than we are. She's more into it than we are. I think so.
Like, I know she's talked about it before and has posted the pictures, but in her panel, someone had asked just if she was a fan before filming the movies, and she just reminded everyone, I dressed up as Ghostbusters as a kid. Like, that was Halloween costumes before I even had this job. And so she is a huge fan. It's a huge fan, but there's just this burden that I carry. And I know Tom feels the same way, that our goal is to treat every single item as if it's our own. And so the stress of making sure that we are getting all the items signed as requested, and making sure that things aren't being trampled or rolled over by this massive Autobot walking through, or somebody dressed in, whatever costume, who can't even see straight, Right. And so we're guarding, and it was, Jim, I had the Great Lakes under my armpits by the time I was done. I was so stressed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to like try to compare this as a one-to-one at all, but I think that, you have heard my story about JD Raymer and I going to go meet Patton Oswalt, and we both walked into that and had like 9 items apiece. Not for anybody else, just because we were like, well, let's bring some 8x10s. Let's bring some posters. Let's what can we get done? Let's just see what we can do. And we got there, and it was this weird event where it was just like you bought tickets to go get things signed by any of the 20 signers who were in this comic book shop. And the tickets were like 2 for $5. So we just like walked up to him with this roll of tickets, like we just come from the skee ball machine. Like, hi, I'd like to change in these tickets for some autographs. And we kind of overwhelmed him, I think, because like we walked up and we were like, here you go, here's some stuff. And he just started signing. Like, he just grabbed a pen and was like, okay, cool. And I was like, wait, hold on. Can you use this, silver marker on this? And he was like, oh, okay. And they kind of looked at us kind of weird at first. And then he like tossed something on top of something else, and the paint smudged, and I was like, oh my God, this is what you guys go through, but you go through it with everyone else's stuff. And in this case, we were just like, well, let's just see what we can get done. So, if you ever have a signing with Patton Oswalt,
I would love to.
If you ever do, you have to ask him while you do it. Do you remember 2 weird guys who showed up at a comic book shop and knew your character's name when you didn't? And like,
yeah.
Although I have to be fair, I can't decide if he didn't really know his character name or if he was just doing like, I can't divulge my character's name unless you know what it is, because
playing it safe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But we did. Dr. Hubert Wardsky.
Yeah. What a great name.
Yeah. I'm like so excited. I can't wait to see his character in the movie. I don't think he's going to be at the climax, like donning a proton pack and being, an A-level Ghostbuster, but I think he's going to add a lot to the movie in terms of lore. He seems like he's a researcher or something.
And for some reason, that last name Wardsky just sounds like a Dan Aykroyd name. He came up with that. I feel like Uncle Dan named Patton Oswalt.
Hubert Wartsky. It's like an improv character he's been keeping in his brain for the last 40 years. He just gets, hello, I'm Hubert Wartsky. I'm here to serve you a steak. I don't know. I don't know why that's what Hubert Wartsky would do. I'm not Dan Aykroyd, everyone, in case you forgot. So you have the signing with McKenna. She's a delight. You get everything done you plan to get done. You've then, of course, because you took photos of everybody's stuff and sent it to them and said, hey, here's what your stuff looks like, which is awesome. So that way folks can feel secure about their signings being done, which is a thing you don't at all need to do. You could just be like, it'll be back to you when it gets back to you, suckers. But you take the energy and the effort to do that. That was a crazy experience, but I think that your Finn Wolfhard experience was arguably crazier.
Here's the issue. So you kind of have a handshake agreement with the representation because they're there first to meet their fans. Right. Understandably so. Like if you were to go to a convention expecting to meet McKenna Grace or Finn Wolfhard, and then they were never at their table because they're meeting with guys who have hundreds of items to sign the entire time.
Right.
Understandably so. You'd be upset, right? So it just worked out that it was kind of one of those things that you'll know when the signing will happen when we tell you the signing can happen. Like it's just be on pins and needles the whole time, which for me stresses me out. I like a plan as much as possible. And so that was how it worked with McKenna. We got she can do it now. And so we're scurrying downstairs with all the stuff and all that. But we knew that Finn wouldn't happen until Saturday or Sunday. That was the last day of the show. Saturday was going to be absolute chaos. And the difference between Finn and McKenna is that McKenna was there for an extra day. So people had more opportunities to get her. And while she's got some great titles to her name, she's in the Marvel universe. She's got her shows and all the other things that she's doing. It's not Stranger Things.
Sure.
And so Saturday, all day, Finn's line was slammed. A couple hours deep. And I heard he, on both days, stayed after the show a considerable amount of time to make sure that everybody got their stuff signed. So we were planning on Sunday. And the way this works is, again, I've got stuff kind of hidden and tucked away. And then we never get the call. We never get the message. Because again, he's between signing at the table, the photo ops. He was so busy that it didn't happen. And so I had a lot of people, well, why wouldn't you just go through his line? Because we had double the amount of items for Finn that we did McKenna.
Yeah,
I didn't even get my personal stuff signed. So it's not like I'm even showing favoritism where I get my stuff and Tom's stuff. Like it didn't work out that way.
Well, and I imagine like if you just go through the line and you walk in the line, you're like, hey, I've got dozens or 100 items. Like that is not probably a moment where you're greeted with a lot of joy. Like if you show up in the line, like, hi, I'm here and I've spent this much money and now I would like all of this done right now as people are standing right behind you. Like that can't be a thing that goes over.
And without like having space to set things and organize it and put it like, it's just, it can't happen that way. And so, Jim, here's how irrational I am. So I ended up paying to get a photo op with McKenna and Finn with my son, but I haven't even posted it on Facebook because I'm just the whole time people can be unreasonable. I don't know if you know this.
Yes.
But I just know people are going to be like, really? You had time to get a photo op, but you couldn't get my thing signed?
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
No,
it's
not at
not
all.
the same, but it's just, and truth be told, I was sick over not being able to get it done. I feel like I let the group down. I let so many people down because it wasn't able to happen. It was out of my control. Rational Matt knows that.
Right.
It just didn't happen. And so.
No, and I had messaged you like afterwards and I felt bad because it was very clear that you were like, it didn't get done. And, you posted in the containment unit group, like, I feel like I let everybody down. And I was like, you've done everything you can. What are you going to do? Are you going to force him to sign everything? You're going to kidnap Finn Wolfhard and like throw him in the back of a van and be like, sign this or you're never getting back into Hawkins. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Come on. And so now, we are working to reschedule, which is tricky with him filming another season of Stranger Things right now, I think. And, going to be busy promoting the new film here soon. And so we're trying to work on dates, and if we're not able to get one soon, we'll be working on refunds. Everybody's money is safe. Your items are safe. There's nothing you need to worry about that way. But we just, because it could be one of those things, hey, you can meet them, but it's got to be in next week. Right. And so it's like, I can't send everything back and then expect you to get, so there is a rhyme and a reason. It didn't work out.
Also,
sometimes it does,
like, look,
sometimes it doesn't.
If you're out there listening and you're like, I paid for a Finn Wolfhard autograph with the containment unit and I didn't get it, and you should send my stuff back like now. Like, don't do that, because obviously they're going to try and do everything they can to get it done. But the other reason to me is like, the more you put a thing in the mail, the more things go wrong with it, you know? So it's like, if it didn't get done now, okay, cool. Just hang on to it. It'll be fine. Like, it's going to get done. Or if it's not, then it's going to come back to you safe and sound, because you guys are great at taking care of this stuff and you know what you're doing with it. And I have to say, like, I appreciate like the level of stress you had for this and the like effort you're putting in to try and figure out how to get it fixed, you know? And it's just like but at the end of the day, you're right. Like, it is ultimately about people's availability, you know? And one of the things that's kind of weird to consider for everybody listening out there, I think, is that like Finn Wolfhard doesn't need to do autographs. Like, it's not a thing he needs to do. You know, if he wants to do it because it's something that is a thing he feels like doing because it generates some revenue, or because he has an interest in making fans happy, great. But like, it's kind of the weirdest thing to consider that like these folks, the more successful they are, the less they need to actually engage the thing we are hoping they'll come do, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
The silver lining too is just the amount, like, it's exciting to see the amount of kids and people dressed as Ghostbusters going through their line. The fact that his line was busy is a really great thing, especially as we enter into a new film. So, you know, it's just the availability, the timing. It just didn't work out this time. We're working on it. Don't you worry. Because again, he didn't sign my item, and I'm selfish. So if I need him, we're going to work to get him, and you guys benefit.
You've always said this, and so is Tom, that like when I say, who are you planning on getting? It's always like, well, who do I still need?
Yeah,
right? Because it's like, it's about how you complete your collections and it helps out other people at the same time. Did you see a lot of kids coming through each of their lines? Like, I mean, I expect to see adults, and to be real, like, sometimes I'm amazed at how many adults in flight suits are showing up to talk to a 16-year-old girl or 16-year-old woman. It's weird. Like, I've said this, we are older than the people in a Ghostbusters movie now, and that's kind of strange, but it makes me wonder, like, are you seeing kids coming through those lines? Because you're definitely seeing us walk through those lines, right?
For sure.
But yeah, do you see kids who are kind of out there
tons
engaging those characters?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of kids dressed as Ghostbusters. I saw a bunch of kids going in the line. And what was interesting too, for McKenna at least, there were a lot of people who, because I forget that she is also a very talented musician. And so there are girls bringing her LPs, her albums to get signed. Right. So it's not Ghostbusters at all. I'm like, what? I forget that she's talented in so many ways. And so, yeah, there was a ton of young people in and out through her line.
Like, I wondered about that because, like, you know, I mean, look, let's be real. Like, if I'm going to go to a thing, I'm probably going to be there with a bunch of Ghostbusters fans who are like, hey, it would be cool to get her to sign something. But she's a multi-hyphenate, you know? I mean, to some extent, he is too. He has a band as well, right? Like, and so, but it is kind of like interesting to consider who's walking through their lines and why, you know. In her case, she's got like young Sheldon. She's got like her experience in The Handmaid's Tale, right? Like, she's got a Marvel role. She's got her musical stuff that she's doing. So I wondered, like, what is that cross section like? You know, is it more of one of those things or the other, like from your experience, or do you just see a lot of all of it?
It seemed more Ghostbusters than anything. And I know that the stuff we got signed, I got a couple shots of her singing. I think there was a couple of Handmaid's Tale type stuff, but it was mostly Ghostbusters. And it seems that would be my guess based on photos on the table and stuff too, that would be true there as well.
It's interesting because I wonder, like, you know, I mean, look, for us, like, Venkman is a character that resonates, right? For like 40 years. People are still like, yeah, I hope we get to see Peter Venkman in the movie. Oh my God, is he going to be there for more than a cameo? And I wonder how, like, what the longevity is of these characters that exist now, you know. And it's kind of like you touched on this a little bit earlier, that she sees her role as sort of being a serious one. You know, she's been a Ghostbusters fan this long. But I was thinking about this even last week, that like the performers who are currently in these movies have an almost harder job to some extent than our beloved actors from the first movie, because they were not carrying on a legacy. Like they were just
great point.
making a movie, right? And it was a movie they were happy with or proud of, whatever. And maybe if you think about Aykroyd, he was trying to carry on a bit of a legacy with Belushi, like that he lost in terms of, hey, this is a movie we're going to do together, and we don't get to, so we're going to get Bill Murray to come in and do something instead. But it wasn't carrying on a beloved legacy. It was just starting something. Right. And the second movie is kind of the same thing. It's like they come back 5 years later and they're like, yep, we're making another movie, but it's not like, oh, we're carrying on a beloved thing. And the future of Ghostbusters like is inextricably linked at this point to the Spengler family, right? Like as an entity, like that's what is at the core of this as a family, rather than 4 guys who were kicked out of a university because their work was no longer considered good enough to be there, you know? So it kind of puts this level of pressure on those actors, I think, to carry this forward in a way, you know, like generationally, that is a little different. And it made me wonder, like, what, you know, who's actually showing up as fans? Is that actually happening where, you know, a person who was 12 when they watched Ghostbusters Afterlife identified with the 12-year-old on screen, and now, you know, a few years later, that's who's standing in line trying to get autographs, you know? But yeah. No, it was exciting and encouraging to see that it looks like we've got some fans coming up behind us. Good. I mean that not to be like hook them while they're young with a cigarette industry, but like it worries me sometimes about, you know, what will happen with the fandom, because I think a lot of us, like, I think I've learned this doing Extraplasm, that like there's more people I know who I'm friends with at this point who are like, oh yeah, Ghostbusters 2 was my thing. I saw it first.
They would be right.
You know, I mean, like, and I saw the first movie first. So I'm always like, the original movie is the thing. But there's plenty of people who are like 4 years or 5 years younger than me, for whom Ghostbusters 2 was the thing they saw first. The cartoon was the thing they knew. And Ghostbusters 1 was like, oh, I saw that a little later, you know? So
it was a little too scary.
Yeah, no, like for real, right? Like it is. I mean, I saw it when I was 4 in a drive-in, and that's what it's my first like burned in my brain, probably because my childhood brain was like, this is trauma. Like, these are scary terror dogs in the fridge kind of thing. But it makes me wonder about how kids today are sort of resonating with it. Was there anything in particular like that you had McKenna sign for this signing that, you know, was kind of interesting, or that like the last time we did this, she reacted to something Harold had signed that she had never seen before? Like, was there anything this time around that she kind of was impressed by?
No, I don't think we got anything. The stuff that jumps out is there was a photo. Fortunately, it was mine, because not everyone enjoys this. We learned this the last time. But she and Logan have a fun friendship.
Ah, yes.
And so on one of my photos, actually the one you sent to me, thank you very much. You got Patton to start. She signed next, but she put a mustache on Logan Kim. She doodled a little mustache on his face, and that was fun. There was another 8x10 where she has that quote. So it's the 8x10. It's a photo of her standing before Zool at the end of Afterlife. And she tells the joke about the grasshopper walks into a bar, and they say, hey, did you know we got a drink named after you? And she said, drink named after me? Steve? You know, so she did a version of that quote and drew a little grasshopper, like, had a lot of fun that way. But as far as the items we got sent in, we didn't have anything quite as unique or that were legacy items that had everyone on them already, because I think most of those got done last time.
I think I sent in an 8x10 to you, and I sent one for Tom as well. They were the shots from Empire Magazine. For those listening at home, you're like, what are you talking about? These were the Empire Magazine shot that had Patton Oswalt and Dan Aykroyd and Logan Kim and McKenna Grace all standing over like a map table inside the library. And so I had Patton sign those, and then the plan was to send them to you and have them signed by McKenna. And then I want to try and complete them for everybody else. And I was half tempted to tell you, like, if she wants to do anything else she wants to do on it, it's fine. Because I know like that she has been doing this on people's stuff with like Logan, and that Logan is apparently doing it back. And this is a game for them when they get each other's stuff. And I'm like, I have to be honest. If that had happened, I would have been so happy because like, I think that like I've talked about this. It's their character's friendship that is my favorite thing in Afterlife, is that moment where they become friends in in that movie where it's like, hey, you want to be lab partners? I don't even know if we're going to have lab partners, but okay. Right. Like, yeah. I love the sort of playfulness of their two characters together. So to sort of see their friendship play out on other people's autographs is hilarious to me. And the best part about it, honestly, is this. We're going to get down the line and people are going to be like, how do we authenticate whether or not these are genuine McKenna Grace and Logan Kim autographs? And this is going to be how. It's going to be like, oh, it's not just about like, this is the shape of the letters, right? No, like, what's the shape of the mustache that's drawn over Logan Kim's face?
Yeah. We'll look at inscriptions and then we'll look for mustaches and what was the angle. And
we're going to be looking at comparing grasshopper doodles that she's added to different things over the years. Right. And it just also makes me wonder, like, will she continue doing this over the course of her career? Like, and does she do it with other stuff? So when she signs for something else, like, you know, young Sheldon, does she draw like a little picture of Sheldon as a stick figure? Like,
right. I mean, I can't imagine it does. Like, not that she's going to change dramatically, but she's going to have more and more work that she's be signing, and she's going to get busier and busier. Her star is just going to continue to grow and shine. And
right.
You know, and so that's why, like, I know that people get particular about their stuff. Absolutely. I get it, because I'm that way about a lot of things as well. But it's just, it's fun. And I think it's kind of what you're saying. It's like it's a stamp of this specific time in history. Like, it won't be this way forever. It's going to make it unique and individual. And I'm loving it. And that's it. Like, we're getting them to sign as they're playing characters that are kids while they're still kids. And so like, that's the other thing. Their signature is going to change. It's going to get more adultish. And I think we're going to look back and we're going to wish, oh man, I wish I got it back when she was a kid.
No, I think it's kind of funny you say that, because I have joked that since before Afterlife came out, you could watch the progression of like Logan's signature, right? Or her signature. Cause they were like 12 or 13 or 14-year-old kids. So it's like, I mean, not to be like overly essentialized about kids, but like the vast majority of kids today don't even know how to write in cursive.
Right.
So you're like, hey, could you write an autograph on something? And, you know, like, it turns out, you can, but you don't usually write in script at all. So you're still figuring out what your signature looks like. And I can think of the number of things I signed when I was a kid, like, you know, your work permit, your learner's permit, whatever it was that you signed when you were a teenager. It's just like some chicken scratchy thing that's not at all what your signature is going to look like when you're an adult. And you're like, I have to look official, and this has some character to it in terms of what I'm doing. Or you become the person like me who just goes, JM, is done, moves on. But yeah, like, I think it's neat because it shows this sort of progression in their careers, you know? So I'm excited that you got to get the McKenna stuff done. I'm really excited to get my stuff back from you when I get it, but I'm totally like, please get the Logan stuff done if you can. And if not, then we'll work it out. But like, I appreciate the effort that you put in, and you shouldn't feel bad. I may say that on behalf of everybody inside the containment unit group. Like, there's no reason for you to feel bad. You did everything you could, and you haven't done anything wrong until you just be like, I'm keeping all of your objects and your money.
There are a couple of things that I have thought it would be great to keep, but I won't do it. We won't do it.
It didn't get signed, everyone, I assure you.
And then it lost.
It was destroyed. No. Well, we shouldn't say that, because you are going to do, you'd never do that, one. And two, you have new stuff coming up we should talk about.
Yes. I mean, this hobby is all about reputation. We would never sacrifice our reputation for that, because your trust in us means more to us than anything. And so let me preface with what we have next with that, because we're clearly just kidding. But we do have a lot of things coming up this year, because not only is it the 40th anniversary of the original film, it is the 35th anniversary of Ghostbusters 2.
Yep.
And we're trying to put some respect on Ghostbusters 2's name. I don't know what it is, Jim, but if we have a Ghostbusters 84 signing, it'll do really well. We have a Ghostbuster 2 signing, we get a smaller amount of people interested in Ghostbusters 2. So we're hoping to kind of reverse that trend a bit this year.
I don't know why people would not want things from Ghostbusters 2, because Ghostbusters 2 is wonderful.
I agree.
I think a lot of the folks who you're potentially getting this year are folks who have not been that accessible to people in general.
Yep. So yeah, we can talk about it. There's a couple of them. So one that we'll talk about first, that is one that we've been wanting to work with for a while. And he is still active in the movie industry, still works for Industrial Light and Magic, and does a ton of great things. If you look at his IMDb, it's insane. But that person being Howie Weed. Howie did a lot of behind the scenes work on many of the creatures in Ghostbusters 2, the ghosts and the creatures. And so I don't want to rob from our podcast, Jim, because we have an interview with Howie we're going to post, a short little thing.
Nice.
But he did, he worked on the Scoleri Brothers. He worked on the Ghost Jogger. We found out that he worked on the Statue of Liberty. And I'll give you this nugget because we didn't get to put it into our podcast because we didn't start recording soon enough. Just podcast problems. But he worked on the Statue of Liberty. He worked on the scene where the foot is coming down and you can see the foot squashing cars. That foot is a model that he made. And here's what's cool that he told us. He goes, if you look up above the foot, you can see a bunch of rods and steel and metal and stuff like that. He goes, yeah, I was just looking around the shop and I just borrowed a bunch of stuff from the Death Star and I just put it in there. We're like, what? What? This has got probably Return of the Jedi type piece, like, or who knows what they were working, but like the Death Star is in Lady Liberty in Ghostbusters 2. That's crazy. That's exciting.
That's funny.
So he worked on the Titanic and all that stuff too. And so there's not much that he didn't touch for Ghostbusters 2. And so we're really excited at Howie. And of course, he was Possessed Ray, and he worked on Vigo. So those are the big names. Because here's the thing. Unfortunately, due to time, there's no one else really left for Vigo. The names are very small. So if you have a Vigo-sized hole in your collection, Howie Weed is the guy that can fill it for you right now.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's funny because I jokingly said, well, you're going to get the guy from the video game because the video game is canon inside your group, forgetting that the guy inside the video game actually was Max
Van Sydow. And he still passed away, unfortunately.
Right. And then I was like, oh, well, now that's a bad look on my part, one. And two, wow, they got him back for the video game? Because I just figured it was just another voice actor. I hadn't really considered that they brought him back to do his character voice. Well, I think that's cool. I don't actually have anything from Vigo in my collection, so I'm going to have to definitely keep an eye on that,
Not many of us do. So this would be a great way to start. And then there are just some amazing shots of him as demon-possessed Ray. And he talked about the process of getting into character and how it took hours. They had to do vacuum formations of his eyeballs and just make the contacts. And he had to drink some really condensed, dark, purple Kool-Aid with a little bit of water just to make his mouth dirty. So we got some of those stories in there. And so absolutely, you guys, check out the podcast when it drops. But we're really excited to offer him again, if you look at his work, it's insane. Pirates of the Caribbean and Star Wars and so many other things. He was the Wampa in Empire Strikes Back Special Edition. Some really elite stuff. And so we're able to offer him for only $50. But you got to act quick because deadline is at the end of February. So whenever this drops, move quick.
That's definitely a thing to do because the podcast drops on the 21st. So you probably have about a week to get that done if it's going to be a thing you're going to do. And what I just heard you say, and like the thing I heard most in there is that you're telling me that Vigo's a Wampa. That's what I got out of all that. So
come on, let's go, people. So send in your Death Star items, send in your Vigo Wampa items, and we'll get them done.
Yeah, just that's definitely a thing to do. I'm now imagining like Vigo the Carpathian is keeping a group of people hung upside down inside of a cave for food, just to save them for food for later. That's they call the sorrow of Moldavia, the snackster of Carpathia. It's just keeping people alive upside down. No. And who's the other person who you're going to sort of let folks know about?
So the other person we haven't gone live with yet. So make sure if you're not in the group, you're in our TCU Collectibles page or our containment unit group. But we have a signing with the one, the only, Kurt Fuller.
Yeah.
Who, we haven't been able to get before, but he's available now. And so we're really excited to add Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, and Kurt Fuller, if you're not sure who that is out there, is, of course, the guy who plays Jack Hardemeyer in Ghostbusters 2. You also know him probably from Wayne's World fame because he's in that as well. Is he in Wayne's World or Wayne's World 2? I'm like losing my brains.
Wayne's World.
Remember. Yeah, okay. Like he's the guy who is with the dude from Noah's Arcade, right? So, yeah. And then he's a television director. I can't remember what his role is. I'm really doing a great job right now of illustrating what I know. But he's also Brill from No Holds Barred. So I feel like, I'm not sure if that makes me a better or worse person, that I can't keep my Wayne's World straight, but I can keep No Holds Barred straight. So.
Oh yeah, brother.
But he's the guy who I think of as being like a character actor who helps to hold the 90s together. You know, without him, like, it would really undermine a bunch of movies.
That when he's on screen, you're like, man, I know him from something. What was he? And then you look at his IMDb page and you realize he's in everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's in tons of stuff. And the other thing I remember him from is The Running Man. I might have to send you Running Man stuff. So if you're a fan of The Running Man, or you're a fan of No Holds Barred, or you're a fan of Wayne's World, you can send those things in as well, along with your Ghostbusters 2 stuff for Jack Hardemeyer.
And Jim, my mind's just been blown. I didn't even know that he stars in a sequel that I didn't even know was ever made. Angels in the Infield.
Wait, that exists?
That exists. Come on.
No.
Yeah. Patrick Warburton is the player, and David Alan Grier with Kurt Fuller.
Christopher Lloyd did not come back to play the ghost, the angel again.
Surprisingly so. Yes.
Did Tony Danza?
No. Nope. I mean, this. And if you had to guess what year this came out, what would you guess?
Oh God, I'm gonna, just for the hell of it, I'm gonna go at like 2015. Something totally
not that recent,
wild.
But it was far more recent. It was in the year 2000.
Wow.
So I thought maybe this is like a 1998 type under the radar type thing, direct to TV. I don't know, but
I'm gonna need to send in stuff for that now. Clearly,
that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna have to get that double feature DVD set so I can watch both of them back to back.
But I mean, it is wild the amount of TV shows and things he's also shown up in as a recurring character, and he's just been in a lot of stuff.
In so much.
Yeah. Tons of stuff. So
yeah, make sure you get your Ghostbusters 2 stuff ready for Kurt Fuller. And then the last thing is just an opportunity I think is super cool, but maybe it's just because I'm a fan of Ghostbusters 2 and all the characters and just the art of Hank Mayo. But Hank was a concept artist. So similar to what we've done with Bryn Matheny for Afterlife, Hank has agreed to draw by hand amazing concept sketches, or what were concept sketches for the group. So each one will be different. It'll be unique. And he's going to do a couple of Slimer, a couple of each of the Scolari brothers. And so make sure, we've only got 25 slots. So if you want that, make sure you get in there very quickly too. So a lot of cool stuff and more coming.
I saw you post this stuff about those sketches, and I was really kind of like taken aback because I think that's a really unique and cool thing. Autographs are awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love collecting autographs. And although I think yesterday you made a joke in the containment unit group about how people were going to just, I need to hear back and see my things so I can put them in a book and leave them aside for months on end and forget I have them, which is totally a thing I do. I felt seen when you made that post, but I think the opportunity to get something hand drawn from a person who helped to sort of conceptualize a character is really super unique. And the drawings that you posted that he's done so far that are sort of like, hey, this is what you're going to be getting as something along these lines were freaking amazing. Like, I wanted those Scoleri brothers prints, or rather sketches. They're not prints, they're hand-drawn sketches.
They're hand-drawn. And like the original stuff goes for thousands of dollars. And so I know $300 may sound like a lot, but it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and it's something that is truly unique.
Right.
That, quite frankly, you'll probably never get again.
Right. It's not something where it's like, hey, he's just like sitting there signing, a pre-drawn template. It's literally every single one of these he's doing is a unique new sketch of these characters. So I think that this is a really cool opportunity you have out there for this stuff. And Ghostbusters 2, I think you're right, is underrepresented in a lot of the memorabilia that we see. That's why I think it's interesting to see it pop up more at like prop auctions and stuff, because like it's the stuff that I think people had less of an attachment to. It was Ghostbusters is sort of considered that like flash in the pan, like, wow, it's a moment thing. And Ghostbusters 2 was almost like, hey, let's try to recapture it. And so the stuff that comes from it, I feel like, is almost like less beloved. It has less, magic on it in some way, but it doesn't really. I mean, it's all the same people working on the same kind of creative stuff. And there's so many cool things from that movie. So I'm totally stoked. And I'm definitely going to have to get some Kurt Fullers. Like, that's going to be a thing.
Oh, so, yeah, you got to.
Yeah. Well, we've kind of touched base on how your previous signing went and what's coming up down the pike. So I'll ask you this sort of before we wrap this up. We're heading into the new movie. We're about a month away, right, from being able to see this movie and hopefully seeing it together if things work out.
Oh, come on.
What are you most excited about for like either the movie or for the 40th anniversary? Like, you're in the 40th anniversary year of Ghostbusters. There's a lot going on. So what is 2024 about for you? What are you hoping is going to happen, or what are you hoping to see?
It's hard for me to see anything beyond the film release, because that is coming up quick. It seemed like a while ago it was so far away. Now it's coming up, and it's going to be so fast. I mean, I really do hope that the stars align and there's a way for me to get into that premiere. There's nothing I would love more than to see this film for the first time with a bunch of people who are excited to see the film for the first time, and to see it with guys like you and so many of our other friends. I think it would be a great time. So hopefully that'll work out. I'm really excited about the movie. The last trailers like put me over the top. I think it's going to be funny. I think it's going to be full of heart. I think it's going to be a little scary. So I think it'll be very much like the '84 film in that way. So it's a fun time to be a Ghostbusters fan.
Yeah, I agree. I'm of the mindset like this movie is going to be great, and then I want to know what happens after it. Like, I know we have the comic book coming, but I'm like, what happened to my animated series? What happened to my animated movie? And so I'm hoping we're going to find out more of those things, like in Ghostbusters Day times, like around June. Hopefully, maybe we'll hear some more about those projects and what's gone on with them.
Yep.
But I think you're right. It's a great time to be a Ghostbusters fan. There's so many things that are coming up down the pike, including your signings, right? So
sorry to add to the stress, y'all.
No, I hope you add more, and I imagine you will. I'm hopeful we're going to see some folks who maybe haven't been out as much talking about Ghostbusters in a while because there's this 40th anniversary, and get some more opportunities for memorabilia and just for stories. I'm really excited about your firing up the podcast again. I wanted to say that like, look, it's not like I'm saying like, stop listening to Extraplasm, but like what we all do is all a little different, right? And what you and Tom have done with the podcast that you have, the Containment Unit podcast, is really doing some deep dive interview work with folks who've worked on the projects that we love. And I hope you get more opportunities to do that this year, because I'm always happy to talk to folks and interview people, obviously, but like, you get some really cool stuff from people who you've developed a relationship with that, I would be over the moon to be able to talk to for 15 minutes, you know, and like you have a really long conversations that really dig into some of the production stuff. Who are some of the folks who you would recommend folks check out from the podcast that you have out already?
Ooh, if you have time, one of my favorite interviews is still Mark Siegel. I would watch the video because he's got slides. Another one similar along that way is one that we did recently with Mark Brian Wilson and Stuart Ziff, who is going to be a future signer for us. We're just too far away to announce it officially. We're going to do another interview with him too, so be ready for that. But those are guys who I'd look at right away.
Yeah, that Mark Brian Wilson interview with Stuart Ziff is amazing. Like, it's one of my favorite things that you've done. And the Jim Phi one's pretty good too. Oh yeah, Jim was great. And a lot of detail in Ghostbusters 2 because there's just not a lot known out there right now. That's what I love about them. Like, that's
documentary drops.
That's what right. Eventually where you get a documentary from like the Buenos, right, who did cleaning up the town. But that's what I love about the interviews you've done with those folks, is that they're people who are behind the scenes folks who don't necessarily come out in front of the camera and talk about the sort of production and post-production on Ghostbusters 2. And you had them sit down and really get into some particulars that, we've never heard before. I think, am I wrong in thinking that it's your podcast that may have revealed the story about Naked Vigo? Yeah. Yep. That's us. With Jim. So make sure you check out Jim Phi. Yeah, where's the soap? That's become like a legendary story at this point about Wilhelm. Wilhelm? Yeah, right. Who played Vigo, was that he apparently walked out after a day of being dressed as Vigo and couldn't find soap and just walked out in front of everybody naked angrily. Yep. But yeah, these are the kinds of things that nobody talked about for 30 years. So if you want to hear about them, you got to go over to the containment unit and check it out. Check it out. Well, anything else going on, Matt, that you want to sort of let people know about, or anything else to sort of wrap things up on this episode of Extraplasm? No, I mean, that's it. I would just encourage you the way that we encourage so many people in our group to already. If you haven't joined the group, make sure you follow join the containment unit, or follow TCU Collectibles or the GB containment unit on Instagram. But listen, there's so much going on. There's so much to be excited about. It's going to be a tough year this year just because of everything else going on in the world around us. But don't be a peck, all right? Be patient, be kind, be gracious towards one another. Let's set that example. Don't be a peck. Hey, you got to be careful with this phrase, okay, as you lead up to this new movie, because I am trying to wish cast into existence the fact that what we saw in the trailer is a mislead. Like, okay. I want him to be like, the Ghostbusters were finished for 40 years. Now, descendants of Egon Spengler, you have a child hanging out the side of a car with a laser gun. And I think that's just grand. He's fully redeemed. Yes, that's what I want. I really, truly do. I really want him to turn around in this movie and be like, and it turns out that I was wrong. And so what do you need? I'm like David Margulies in the Loud movie. I'm the mayor. What do you need? And that's what I really want. So in which case you should be a peck, right? You should But until then, don't do it. Does he know you use this phrase, William Atherton? He does. We gave him a button that we have that says "Don't be a peck." What's his reaction to it? He was a little weirded out by it, but once it was explained by Tom that Tom's got away with words, that it's actually an endearing thing. Yeah. But you go through your whole life being called, well, not whole life, but a majority of your life, at least the last 40 years, being called dickless and all this other stuff. Like, you get worried. So I get it. William Atherton is a trooper. He was punched in the face by Bonnie Bedelia as a minor mid-level boss in Die Hard, right? He's a minor mid-level boss for the Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what he does, which is why I'm like, bring him back, but now let him be, part of the family. Let him come in and be like, I actually made it into office because Winston Zedmore uses billions of dollars to help me win the New York City mayoral race that I otherwise would have never had the money to win as a EPA investigator. What I really want. I know it's stupid. And some people are like, that's the one thing you really want in the movie. It's not the one thing. but it's definitely a thing. So
I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out. Maybe you'll be doing another round of autograph signings with William Atherton, where he's just writing "Be a peck, my friend" across the entire thing.
That'd be great.
Well, thank you for coming on, Matt. It's been fun to chat with you, and I hope we get to see each other, at the premiere. And if not, I just hope we get to see each other this year, because it's the 40th anniversary year, and I want to see as many people as possible who are coming on the podcast. So thank you again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jim.
All right, take care. That about wraps things up for Extraplasm this week. I want to say thank you once again to Matt Sanders for coming on the show and letting us know a bit about how MegaCon went, what his plans are moving forward with the Finn Wolfhard signing, as well as the different things that they're going to be offering as the year unfolds. I didn't tell you about Kurt Fuller in the headlines because I wanted to be a surprise. But if you've got a Ghostbusters 2 collection, or if you're just a wrestling fan who likes No Holds Barred, you got to get that done. So make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for that, and that you're getting in touch with the containment unit if you want to pick up anything that they've currently got available. I also want to say thank you, as usual, to Brendan Pearce of Badoochi Studios, who provides our logo and visual identity, and who's done an amazing job sculpting that Blinky figure that's available, as well as the other 2 figures that are out there, or rather the other 3. So don't forget that Vinny, Zuli, the Parkageist, and of course Blinky are available until Saturday the 24th. Get those pre-orders in, and thank you again to Brendan for all the hard work he does, including for Extraplasm. And of course, I need to say thank you to Vaporwave artist MAGNAVOX, whose version of Ghostbusters serves as our theme song each week. And last but not least, I need to thank you for tuning in each week, for being awesome folks and being part of an awesome community. I love hearing from you all. If you have anything you want to share with the podcast, you want to let me know about your plans to go to the premiere because you're going, and you're hoping to meet up with people, etc., don't forget to reach out to me at Extraplasm on Instagram, on X, extraplasompodcast@gmail.com if you're into the email thing. And of course, you can find Extraplasm Podcast on Facebook and on YouTube at youtube.com/@extraplasm. Don't forget, there's a kitchen counter review coming later on this week. So thank you again for listening. Thanks for being involved in this fandom and this community. We're about a month away from this movie. It's going to be awesome. And as we get super excited and jazzed, don't forget what Ernie Hudson reminds us to do every week.
Try to have fun, and always keep on busting. Take care.